There is a very specific, um, terrifying moment when you turn on a faucet and instead of water, you just get this like hollow, sputtering cough of air. And suddenly the fact that you paid your water bill means absolutely nothing.
Right, because the paperwork is basically just an illusion. The dry pipe is the actual reality.
Exactly. And when that pipe goes dry, all those illusions just vanish.
Yeah.
So today on the deep dive, we are stripping away those illusions for you. We're unpacking this fascinating 2026 survival manual written against the backdrop of the global water bankruptcy. I mean, considering 75% of you listening are currently facing water insecurity, this is urgent.
Yeah, it really is. And this manual uses three specific frameworks to rethink survival. It calls them logos, which is how we test reality, poiesis, how we rebuild our economy, and gignomenon, the actual physical engineering part.
And it all really hinges on this crucial distinction the author makes between what they call substrates and mediation layers, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So substrates are your foundational physical realities. We're talking water, soil, the actual steel on our bridges. Whereas mediation layers are just the human stories we kind of drape over them, like currency, GDP, or, political ideologies.
Right, and society is just dangerously untethered from the physical world right now.
Yeah.
I like to visualize a substrate like gravity. If you jump off a wall, physics enforces the consequence instantly.
Yeah, there is no appeal process.
Exactly. But a mediation layer is more like a speed limit sign. It's totally interpretive, the consequence is massively delayed, and, well, it only matters if a cop happens to be there to enforce it.
That is a great way to put it. And the manual gives us diagnostic tests for this under the Logos framework to see what's actually real. Like Rule 1, failure immediacy. Basically, if a system degrades before a political response can even be formed, that's a substrate. Like you can't filibuster a drought.
Right, nature does not negotiate. And then there's Rule 9, the incentive inversion thing, which I found fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. It basically states that violating a substrate eventually becomes mathematically more expensive than obeying it, like regardless of your intentions. If you drain an aquifer too fast, eventually the sheer energy needed to drill deeper costs way more than the water you get. Physics just hands you the bill.
I mean, it's brutal, but true.
Yeah.
And speaking of testing reality, I was so surprised to see the author drag ancient texts like the Tao Te Ching or Vitruvius into a modern manual, but they aren't treating them as, like, abstract philosophy.
No, not at all. They view those texts as ancient maintenance protocols. They were early warning systems designed to keep human civilizations anchored to physical limits, long before we had digital sensors.
Wow, that makes so much sense. So since physical constraints always win, our economic systems are just measuring the wrong things. We tax human labor and trade abstract currency. But this book argues we should measure energy and physical throughput, which brings us to poiesis.
Right, the redesigning of the economy. The manual proposes this mechanical output tax. It binds economic value directly to energy use, and AI just reads real-time state variables like the energy draw of a factory.
Okay, wait, let me push back on this a bit. Couldn't a massive corporation just falsify that AI telemetry data to dodge the tax? Hacking a digital meter seems like, standard practice for them.
I mean, they could try, but the system relies on physical laws, not digital trust. If a company fakes those signals, say, telling the AI a turbine is running at a totally cool, optimal temperature to lower their tax burden, the physical machine still experiences the actual heat.
Also, if it's overheating, the gears literally just melt.
Exactly. Faking the data fundamentally breaks the physical hardware. You literally cannot gaslight metallurgy.
You cannot gaslight metallurgy. I love that. So if we accept this inescapable physical math, how does the gignomenon framework, the actual engineering blueprint, propose we physically survive the water crisis?
Well, it outlines this thing called the spine. It's a 1-kilometer modular passive solar desalination system for desert coasts. And crucially, it totally abandons fragile global supply chains. They use local stuff like this desert Roman concrete made entirely from regional lime, volcanic ash, and sand.
Yeah, and what about those terracotta cool columns? I thought the thermodynamics there were just brilliant.
Oh, they are incredible. They basically bury these terracotta pipes in damp pits. Since the Earth is naturally cooler than the scorching desert air above, the columns act like a cold glass of iced tea on a summer day.
Right, so they pull condensation straight out of the atmosphere without even touching an electrical grid.
Completely passive.
Yeah.
And they also use a technique called mountain wicking. Instead of letting scarce rain flash flood down a mountain, they use gravity and these zigzagging basin ladders to slow it down.
Oh, wow. So it forces the water to sink into the dry slopes.
Exactly. Literally turning the mountain itself into a massive sponge to hold the water table.
That completely redefines true resilience. It means looking down at the mud, the water, and the actual skilled trades, rather than getting distracted by abstract economic metrics and political rhetoric.
It is knowing the difference between the paperwork and the actual pipe.
So true. Well, as you go about your day, think about the systems you rely on. If civilization's survival depends entirely on inescapable physical limits, what accepted, supposedly unbreakable institution in your own life is actually just a fragile mediation layer waiting for a reality check. Think about that the next time you turn on the tap.